everyone, big warm welcome from me. It's Carol here at Oak House Journals, and as always it's Monday, so I'm going to do my Margarete Miller collage for the 2024 collage challenge that she's hosting, and I'm going to do collage number 34. This is the collage we did last week, and it's all wrapped up, ready and waiting to go in my journal, to be bound into my journal at the end of the year. And this was the little chap that I auditioned on this piece, but I changed him out and used this lovely lady. And I was just playing at the end of the video, using up some of the scraps, and made a very quick and simple collage, as you can see. So I used the leftover portion of this backing paper here to form a background. I used some of the cut off from this indenture down the back there. There was a little scrap at the bottom, so I've backed my little chappie on that. And if you remember, this actually said Wildflower Ridge, and it was the leftover portion from week 33 from the wine label. So I chopped out this portion to go on here, and then this was two separate pieces, so I've just glued them together. Now there actually is a join, and it's immediately down that line there, or that left hand edge there. So I just thought you'd like to see that. I don't know whether this will go in my journal or not. I usually have a pocket at the end of my journal where I tuck a note in saying what the challenge is about that year. So I might back this one and pop it in there just as a little extra. Anyway, I thought you'd like to see that. I'm going to pop those over to one side now and concentrate on week 35 and the prompts that I've lifted out for that. So the first prompt is an illustration from a children's book. Now I have this lovely book in amongst my stash, The Mouse of Gold, as you can see, and that's the ISBN number. I picked this up in a charity shop for £1, and as you can see, I've used lots of bits and bobs out of here. I've lifted out 2 pages. You might recognise this page here because that also came out of this book. So I've lifted out these 2 pages. Not sure which one I'm going to use. I think I'm going to use this one, and I'll explain why in a minute, but equally that would go beautifully. And as you know, I work in portrait orientation, so I won't be able to use it that way and get that much of it in, but I will be able to get enough of it in. So that's that. A hexagon. I've got this little image here of a bee inside a hexagon. There's some of the honeycomb there, and a little sprig of, it looks like a thistle down there, and some berries. So I'm going to be using that. Brown or kraft paper. I've got this piece out of a book. Lovely piece. Might use the holes, not sure. A name of a favourite tea. Brodies. Love the name Brodies. So I'm going to use one of these, and now you can see my colour choices here. If I bring in this one, this picks up the purpley tones in my background. Just slight hints of purple, but just perfect. So I thought I could go with that. But the reason I've discounted that one is it might be too bold because of how dark the outside edge of this tea bag is. The other one, which I equally could use with that, because again, there's purple tones, but again, the same reason this outside edge is a bit too prominent in terms of colour. I could go with that one, and that's the one I'm leaning for to keep it very soft and very delicate. It's unassuming in terms of the background, and you might think that's a little bit bland, but by the time I've added this and my brown paper and my other features, I'm hoping that that will give me a soft, delicate collage without it looking bland. If not, I could always pull in maybe an edge of the deep purple, just a little bit, to add a hint of colour. Could even frame it like that, just to add a tiny little hint of colour. The background on this is more off-white. This is more a nice subtle yellowy cream, which blends in with the yellow on here. So that's why I've gone with that. Long explanation, but I know a lot of you like to know why I've gone with various pieces. So that's why I've tried to explain. The next prompt, or the penultimate prompt, is string of numbers. I have my Tim Holtz rub-ons here, and I could use these plenty of number options on here for me to use. Probably wouldn't go with something as bold or as big as that. I would probably go with something like this, the subtle numbers there. I've also got strings of numbers on this little scrap of German ledger paper, so I could use those. Might be a little bit too close in terms of colour tone unless I pull in the purple here. So let's just have a very quick play and see what that looks like. Maybe I could do something like that. This line here is like a purpley grey above the pink, so that might work. These are handwritten numbers, and they're not too black, not too bold, which would tie in with the writing on here, whereas something like that is very, very bold and in your face, so might be too much. But again, all these options to play with. I don't know until I actually start working with them on my page how they're going to go and how they're going to sit together. So I have that piece. I also have this piece here, and I like the length of that and how small the numbers are. So with that, I could go above and below my tea bag, which might be nice to use. So I've got three options, well, two options there for string of numbers. If I wanted to, I could also go with one of these Tim Holtz little, I think they're called snippet labels. And these have got numbers obviously on them. And if I wanted a pop of colour, say for example pink, I could use something like that, and that gives me my string of numbers. So again, they're an option. I could perhaps use several of these to hit that prompt, but again, I won't know until I get playing. And finally, the bonus is a fragrant item from your surroundings. I have lavender in the garden. It ties in with my purple theme here. So I've got this out of one of the Observer gardening books. And if I decide to use this, I'm going to fussy cut it out and use it. But I have another idea. Whether I can use this in conjunction with that idea, I don't know. But I do have another idea, and that involves using this. And this is a little perfume sample that I carry in my handbag. I'll see as my collage evolves whether I want to try out this idea or not. First thing I'm going to do, as always, is to put my prompt up in front of me so that I remember what I'm doing. It didn't help last week because if you remember, I got right to the end and then realised I hadn't included the bonus prompt, which was to do some mark making. So that was a bit of a shock. I'm going to go right across to my left hand pencil mark, which is my working border area, and I'm going to trim down this line here so that I'm getting rid of that white edging. So let's do that using my guillotine. I've trimmed down my background piece so that it's about just shy of a centimetre inside my working border on my left and right hand side. I've also trimmed away a little bit of the white border on here. I may well go in and actually accentuate the hexagon in the background there. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to open, oh, that's rather nice actually. Didn't realise that was on the back. Oh, now that's nice. Ooh, I'm wondering if I bring that in as well. Now I like that. Yes, and I could bring that in. That might be too much. That honeycomb down there is picking up this colour on here, which is lovely. I need to get rid of some of this white. The white is not working against this background. I've opened out both my tea bags. Just cut this one across the top. I'm just going to trim away the back portion now. There we go. So I could have that there like that. I'm going to tuck this in behind and over to the left, leaving a little bit of a rough border. This I thought I could have here and down so that it's lined up with the word tea. I'm trying to take my hands away without it moving. I've got a little bit of that tea bag showing underneath, so I'll trim that away because it's too dark. I am wondering about this right hand side, and I've obviously got to get this in. the composition of that is all wrong. You've got this massive white space here, and then you've got all of this detail down there, which really doesn't work. Okay, so if I turn that round this way, you haven't really got any interest. It just looks like it's just put in there. So I'm wondering about taking this right over to this side, trimming it down there. Yeah, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to take away from there. Have this as my background. Just playing at the moment, everybody, so just trying to work out a composition. Obviously got that white portion there, which I don't want. I need to get rid of that. Might need to take away that bit at the bottom there, but we'll see. Liking that green because it ties in with the green on here, so I don't really want to get rid of it. And I am absolutely loving this purple tone up there, so again, don't really want to get rid of that. The reason I like this orangey colour on here is because it ties in with this and also picks up that. I'm thinking of getting rid of this brown piece on the left hand side. So let me find a piece of card to cover that up. This is my usual trick, as you know, to see whether or not I like the look of what I'm doing. I need to reduce that a little bit more so that there's more of a definition with this strip, and I need to pull it over more. I'm going to trim away more of this. I'm going to take away a little from the top, go back in and rearrange. I'm going to hide those two reed heads down there. I'm going to stagger that, and to make more of a frame, I'm going to bring this one lower down and in, and then this on here. I'm wondering about actually moving this out so that we have a bit of a frame round that hexagon there, and that way I can make use of my numbers up across here maybe. And the question is, do I trim away this? So I'm just going to use a little bit of distress ink around the edges on this just to define the outside section of the hexagon. I've inked around the edges, and originally I was going to have it on here like that. Now I think that doesn't work. It just looks too busy with that border, even though the orange tones tie in. To have it up here, again, it just looks too busy, but I thought that I could maybe do something like this, which gives it a little bit of the cream showing below. It does cover up the fact that it's a Brodies tea bag, but I have a solution for that. So I think that is more or less where I'm going to have it, which isn't at all where I wanted it originally. And it does give me a bit of an issue down here because I've got quite a large area exposed with nothing going on. So I'm hoping that's where bringing in my numbers will help. The other thing I thought that I would do is, instead of having this in the background, see what it looks like bringing it forward. Now, immediately I am liking that better, but I don't like this hole down here. If I reduce that across the bottom, then I have to reduce the height of this because the proportions would be all wrong. So that's what I'm going to do. These two are glued together now, and I'm liking this now that I've taken away that circle. I'm liking the positioning of it as well. So I'm going to glue the craft paper to my background, but I'm not going to glue that to the background as yet. And this I'm going to have on here so that it's covering up the name Brodies and the tea. I'm just going to snip away this little bottom stem of greenery down there as well, and I'm going to glue it on there. I wish I'd used another tea bag for this top one, because now that I've glued it to the second tea bag, you can actually see the writing coming through, which is a shame, but there's nothing I can do about that now. What I've decided to do is to use another scrap of my German ledger paper and just put it on the back here. So this is glued to my working background now, and I've rubbed out my pencil border all the way around. I've more or less got all the prompts in except for the last one, the bonus prompt, which was a fragrant item from your surroundings. Now my fragrant item was either going to be this or it was going to be this. Now I've decided not to use this, but I am going to use this. And what I thought I could do is use the top of my tea bag, because obviously I still need to get in the name of a favourite tea. I've covered up my Brodies there, so I'm going to use this. And I was going to use one of these scraps here to make a tag, and I could possibly use that portion there. Don't like this portion here with the butterflies, and whilst that is the perfect size, I don't like these reeds on the bottom, so I'm not going to use any of those, but I am going to use a portion from this one. And what I'm thinking is just that little edge down there, so I'm going to trim myself a little tag. Okay, so I've got the size that I want, and I've got my topper there, and I just want to reinforce that because it's just paper out of this little magazine here, or this little book here. So I'm just going to use a portion of this on the back. Okay, so I'm just going to put a bit of glue on here. Pop a little glue in the back, put this inside, a little bit in the front here. Gently snip the corners. Don't want much off these corners, just a little bit to help me get it into the pocket. And then that will go in there like that. And what I'm going to do with it now is I'm going to spray it. And my idea here is that that perfume will soak into the paper on the tag. It will need a second or two to dry, but it will give me a fragrant item, i.e. this, from my surroundings, which is a little bit like a smelly stick or a perfume sample stick. So I just need that to dry for a minute or two. Just check I've not got any on my desk. And whilst that's drying, I'm going to go in with my rub-ons, and I'm going to add a few numbers here and there. And then just to hide the lettering that I've got down here that's peeping through, and to hopefully tie it in a little bit better, I'm just popping in a few of these numbers there, just to add a little bit of interest on here. So as you can see, my little tag is dry now, and yeah, it does smell. So that will sit in there. I could actually tie it with some of the string from my tea bag and maybe do something like that at the top. And yeah, I might do that actually. Tie a little bow like that. There we go, everybody. So just push everything to one side off screen. It's mayhem on either side here, I tell you. Anyway, let me go through the prompts, bring those down from in front of me. So an illustration from a children's book. Well, I chose this one out of this lovely book here. As I mentioned before, The Mouse of Gold. Absolutely gorgeous images in here. A hexagon, well, that was my bee here. Brown or craft paper, well, I used this craft paper. Name of a favourite tea, well, Brodies tea. A string of numbers, well, I've got string, my tea bag string, and I've got my numbers. I've got quite a few strings of numbers, so I've got my string of numbers there. Definitely a sequential string of numbers here and here. And finally, bonus, a fragrant item from your surroundings. Well, I didn't actually use the item itself, but I made a little smelly tag to go in the pocket there using a bit more of that background paper and the top of my tea bag and that's what it looks like on the back. And yep, it definitely does smell. So my Margarete Miller Collage 2024 journal is going to smell absolutely gorgeous at the end of the year. So there we go, everybody. That's my finished piece for this week. Hope you liked it. Hasn't come together quite as I imagined in my mind's eye, but I'm happy with it. I am looking at this section down here and thinking, oh, that's maybe not quite right. Doesn't seem so bad up there, but it certainly does down here. But I can live with that. I think it's not too bad, so I can live with that. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Thank you for your support as always. It does mean a lot to me. I hope you have a lovely week, get lots of crafting in, and I hope wherever you are the weather is as you want it. So if you're down under in Australia, I know you're in the middle of winter at the moment. I hope you're enjoying the cool. And here in the UK, well, let's have a few more sunny days. I've got my fingers crossed for that. So until next Monday, everybody, and collage number 36, take care and bye from me. Bye-bye now.